Hello friends, welcome to this another lecture on the topic displayed on your screen. The title is Traditional Indian Values, Panchatantra, Hitopdesh, Jatakas. These three are the canonical text based on the storytelling methods. So in that perspective, we are going to explore the traditional Indian values and its relevance in Indian knowledge traditions. So the agenda set for today's discussion is on your screen. Some queries emerge like what do we mean by values or Niti Shastra, the term which is used in Indian knowledge traditions. What are traditional Indian values? What are the primary sources of Indian values? Then how values are inculcated? What are texts of Niti Shastra like Panchatantra, Hitopdesh and Jataka and other texts? Why this text and Jatakas, Hitopadesha were composed? What was the reason behind them? And is there any consistency in Indian values and Indian knowledge traditions or Indian ethos? Then why value education is needed? So these are some queries that come to mind. So while our discussion, we will try to explore them. Basic issues before us is what are the values? Values are the core beliefs and principles that guide our actions and decisions. They influence how we behave, what we prioritize and how we interact with others. In the image on your screen, you may see certain activities, actions, what we do in our day-to-day life, like performing our responsibility and to do certain work with sincerity, with devotion, and by cooperating with others and seeking cooperation of others too, and respecting the elders, even respecting the children too. Then scientific temperament, thinking by way of logical deductions, reasoning, just criticizing or avoiding the superstitions or sensitivity, tolerance, all such things we all follow in our day-to-day life. So do they form the values? That's why in our day-to-day life and actions, value education or value inculcation is of highly importance. They deserve as a personal or social compass, influencing how individuals and groups interact with the world and prioritize what matters most. Again, we see in Western and Indian context, if we have to compare them, axiology is a branch of philosophy. Basically, it comes in while discussing the philosophical aspects of values. We study in Western perspectives that axiology is the branch of philosophy dedicated to the study of value in its broadest sense, and it further investigates what constitutes value, how value is determined and the nature of value judgments. Then again certain other branches is associated, one more branch is associated with axiology, that is aesthetics, and axiology is further you see ethics and aesthetics. Ethics is that branch which studies the moral values and conduct concerned with questions of right and good, what is right for me, what is wrong for me, or on the aspects of the judgments, value judgments or morality judgments on the basis of the ethics or certain norms or certain parameters to do certain kind of activity. All such become the study matter of ethics. And another branch of axiology is aesthetics, that is the study of values related to beauty, art, taste and sensory experience. So this is the Western perspective of value theories. And in Indian context, it is the same thing is called Niti Shastra. The same content is studied in Niti Shastra. Niti Shastra is the ancient science of morality, ethics and practical wisdom for governing individuals and society. Yes, in Indian perspective also there are certain branches. One is the Samanya Niti, deals with general ethics for individuals and society, promoting virtues like honesty, self-discipline and compassion. And another is the Rajaniti, that focuses on governance, leadership and statecraft, providing guidance for rulers on justice, diplomacy and welfare. Again, you see the functions of values would include, normally it guides our behavior in certain situations. In normal situation, help prioritize what decision we are going to take, which should come first on the basis of the priority, on certain criteria, then it shapes our identity. Our behavior is the very basis of our identity in the society. It also influences our choice, then decision making, and sometimes values are very helpful in conflict resolutions. If you don't believe in a certain kind of behavior that is not liked by the societal norms, then the conflict resolution would be easier. So every person in the society has his or her own way of looking at the society and its phenomena. So in that perspective, value plays very important roles. If you have some values in the life, then conflict resolution would be easier. Then cultural understanding and cooperation, how to understand the people belonging to other linguistic or regional or religious communities or religious identities. In that way, if we know their values, if we know our values, then it would be easier to make an understanding and making a cooperation. Then stress management is also very much dependent on the inculcation of values, and the role of value is very important. So functions of values are multidimensional, not just confined to one aspect. Values designs or steers your behavior, and behavior is the very basis of the culture. So the images on your screen may depict it better, what we have just discussed: innovation, ethics, customers, responsibility, teamwork, goals, aspirations, destinations, confidence. So many aspects of life and our actions are there. They are all inspired and influenced by the values. Then types of values, if we talk about, one is the instrumental value. That's very important aspect, because this is the very first or the primary form of value. They are the preferred modes of behavior or qualities that are valued primarily for their utility to accomplish more significant objectives. These values are not necessarily prized for their inherent worth, but for their effectiveness in enabling to achieve something else that we consider important. For example, efficiency, for maximizing potentiality to produce with reducing waste. If you are working in an industry or in a firm, then efficiency is required on the part of a high productivity and with less wastage. Then honesty, crucial for building trust in relationship with personal and professional matters, so that others may believe in your potentiality and in your efficiency. Then ambition, it is a guiding and motivating force for greater achievements in life and in career. And again, courage is very important value, that is the instrumental value, facing difficulties and take risk for personal growth. Then another is the discipline, it helps in personal development and the achievement of set goals. So another kind of value is terminal values. They are the ultimate goals or end states of existence that individuals strive to achieve. These values represent the core objectives that people consider most desirable and important in their lives, essentially what individually ultimately seek to accomplish or maintain. So terminal values are considered inherently valuable and are pursued for their own sake. So this is the basic difference, that the instrumental values are the values required for the sake of certain external aspects, but terminal values are person specific, individual specific. For examples, on your screen, happiness, inner peace, self-respect, wisdom, security, freedom, success, equality. These are all the examples of the terminal values. They are concerned with the individual and the personal, your own sake or your own benefit. Then cultural values, the third type of value. Cultural values are the core principles and standards shared by members of a specific cultural group, which guide behaviors, decisions, and interactions both within the group and with outsiders. These values are deeply ingrained in the social fabric of the community and are taught from generation to generation, shaping the collective identity and norms of the society. So, they are very much guided by the community and the society in which you are living, and your role is just to groom yourself according to the culture, according to the cultural norms, taboos, or if there are certain values which are shaping, which are playing very important role in shaping your behavior, then your cultural identity is to larger extent depend on the inculcation of those values, like respect for elders. These are the sometimes some values are very specific and some values are very general to almost all the societies, like respect for elders, family etiquette, social norms, or the tradition. Every culture and every family has its own specific cultural etiquettes and norms and values. Then collectivism, group behavior, cooperation, religious faith. Each family and each culture has its own faith and rituals. Then normally children are grown up, children are groomed, and children are trained in those cultures of religious faith. Then humility. Normally the religion is learned at the family, not at the outside the family. Then humility and patriotism, these are all the cultural values which are specific to certain community, certain society, certain nation even. Then another form of value is social values, principles and standards that society collectively deems important in social interactions. These values influence how individuals behave within a community, how they treat each other, and what is considered acceptable or unacceptable behavior. So, society has set certain norms and parameters accordingly. The people or the citizens in a society or the inhabitants in a society have to behave accordingly. Social values help maintain order, foster mutual respect, and ensure that social interactions are conducted smoothly. So, some examples of social values are on your screen: equality, justice, respect for diversity, community, service, democracy, human rights. Many of the social values are often depicted in the constitution of the nation itself. For example, in Indian constitution, you see that certain values are depicted like equality, justice, fraternity, democracy, secularism, and so on. So, these are all the social values. Then economic and political values, they are also very important in the modern world, modern society. These values influence decisions, policies, and behaviors in the realm of economy and governance. Political values are the principles that influence how a society is governed. These values affect how power is obtained, exercised, and justified. Then they play a critical role in shaping political institutions, laws, and policies. Key political values include efficiency, growth, equity, sustainability, innovations, and certain economic and political values would include democracy, freedom, rule of law, equality, security, and so on. Now come to the Indian aspect of values, that is Niti Shastra. What is Niti Shastra? The term Niti Shastra is derived from the Sanskrit word that is Niti. Niti means moral guidance, righteous conduct or public ethics, and Shastra treatises or systematic knowledge. Niti Shastra refers to the body of knowledge dealing with moral values, ethical conduct, or personal character formation and principles of social and political life. Nowadays, in modern professional life, we also see the code of conduct. If you join certain kind of industry or certain kind of institutions, even if as a student, so you have to sign a paper on which it is written that you have to you are abide by these rules and regulations of the institution. If you are joining one industry, you have to follow that code of conduct, professional ethics, and so on. So they all form the part of the Niti Shastra. They all come from this area. In Indian traditions, Vidur Niti, Chanakya Niti, Krishna Niti, they are all the text of the Niti Shastras. It provides practical instructions to individuals, rulers, learners, and society on how to act with wisdom, justice, restraint, and responsibility in daily life. So, Niti Shastra is like a Baconian light which shows the way in the darkness where you have to take the decisions, so on what ground. So, Niti Shastra provides you that way. Unlike abstract philosophical ethics, Niti Shastra is action oriented, focusing on right behavior and good conduct in real situations. So, major sources of Niti Shastra, particularly in Indian traditions, comes from Vedas and Upanishads. Truth, and is Satya, Ahimsa. You see from the Buddhism, from the Jainism, we all have the Samyak Shraddha, Samyak Charitra, and so on. They all talk about the good conduct, right faith. Buddhism's Ashtangik mark, and the three ratnas of Jainism, and the five jewels like Satya, Ahimsa, Aste, Aparigraha, and Brahmacharya. So they all are the guiding principles, and from the Upanishads we see Satyamev Jayate and Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya. So these are all the adages. So Vedas and Upanishads are the prime source of the values and the guiding principles to make the principles in our life to be followed. Now, Smritis, Smriti Granth, especially Manusmriti and Yagvalkya Smriti, and so many other commentaries on Manusmriti and other Smritis are there. Parashar Smriti, Braspati Smriti, Narada Smriti, so many Smriti books are there. They describe social ethics, duties, dharma, that is in Indian traditions, dharma refers to the duty, not the religion. Life stages like Varnashram, ashramas, chatur ashrams vyavasthas there, and each ashram there are certain duties, responsibilities to be fulfilled. Then social responsibilities, Manusmriti explains ethical behavior in family and social life. Then another source is epics. The two great epics are Ramayana and Mahabharata. Both epics serve as narrative models of ethical conduct. Ramayana, ideal examples of duty, loyalty, truthfulness and virtue, and Mahabharata, moral dilemmas, dharma must be upheld in complex situation too. And Bhagavad Gita within Mahabharata teaches selfless action, nishkam karma, and righteous duty, that is the swadharma. So three kinds of yogas are disseminated by Lord Krishna, Gyan Yoga and Bhakti Yoga and so on, and Karma Yoga, you see. They all form the Niti Shastra content. Then Arthashastra of Kautilya, we have already discussed it. Niti text like Niti Shataka of Bhartahari, that's another very important text. Values like detachment, friendship, generosity, humility, patience and wisdom, and political ethics, governance and administration, statecraft, they all come from these texts. And Panchatantra and Hitopdesh, they are the primary text for the value education. Collections of animal fables, teaching wisdom in simple narrative stories. Panchatantra and Hitopdesha, they emphasize practical intelligence, moral lessons and cooperative behavior, widely used in Indian education historically to teach children moral values. Major sources of Niti Shastra again would include the teachings of saints, bhakti and Sufi traditions. Saints like Kabir, Nanak, Baba Farid, Tukaram, Basavan and Mirabai and Thiruvalluvar in South India, they all and Sufi mystics, they all talk about the universal love, brotherhood, humility, compassion, equality beyond caste and religious boundaries, no discrimination on the basis of caste, creed, religion or ethnicity and so on, and cooperation and service to mankind. So Sufi mystics like Nizamuddin Auliya, Muinuddin Chishti, Maulana Rumi and Sheikh Sadi, they also contributed. So in Indian knowledge traditions we find the very important role of the Sufi text and the Bhakti text in forming the basis of Niti Shastra, like Masnavi of Maulana Rum. This is full of the fables and stories based on the spiritual guidance, and then the Gulistan of Sadi, Sheikh Sadi, these stories are full of spiritual teachings, and Bustan of Sadi and Guru Granth Sahib, Vani and Siddhant. This is also the religious text of Sikhism, and in this text the teachings of several Sufi saints are also included, like Baba Farid also contributed to form the teachings of Guru Granth Sahib. So such sources are very important to form the content of Niti Shastra in Indian traditions. Here we come to the Panchatantra. Panchatantra is very popular in Indian knowledge traditions. The story goes that there was a king, Amar Shakti, and he had three sons, and these three sons would have to take care of the responsibility after the king. So the king was very much worried that if because these sons are not trained in the statecraft and the worldly practical learning, how they will take the responsibility of the throne if after that one of them would take the responsibility. So he just called one of the Pandit, that is Vishnu Sharma, and he just insisted him to train these three sons. Then Vishnu Sharma created an entertaining set of interconnected animal fables to teach the princess the skills of statecraft. So Panchatantra is not just confined to the animal fables. In this, the talking animals are there; they are the symbolically, but some other stories are also. there where human characters are playing important role. So Panchatantra is one of the oldest collection of didactic stories written in Sanskrit prose and verse form. It is meant to teach practical wisdom, moral values and political understanding through simple fables, often involving animals as characters. So these stories are also based on the Niti, that is ethical literature, and has been translated into many other languages too. Then you see the brief content of Panchatantra is divided into the 5 sections. So first we just have a look on the characteristics of Panchatantra, then we will try to explore the 5 sections of Panchatantra. Narrative structure is very important, frame story technique, yeah, where one narrative contains other stories, and the fables often embedded stories within stories. One story ends and the other starts therefrom. So one story never ends in actually. The idea of one story or the teaching is completed, and then another story begins from the end of the first story. So this is just like a chain like storytelling method. Animal fables with timeless moral lessons. Then early translations in Persian and Arabic and global influence is very important characteristic, or it is associated with Panchatantra. It is one of the India's most widely translated literary works, and Mughal period translations in Arabic and Persian titled like Kalila Vadimna and Anwar-e-Suheli, they are the Panchatantra was translated into these 2 languages, in Arabic Kalila Vadimna and in Persian Anwar-e-Suheli, and became very popular. Even the Mughal princes were for the Mughal princes, these books were very important in order to get the training, in the same way as King Amar Shakti got it utilized for his sons. Then it has influenced other famous works of literature, including Aesop's fables and Arabian Nights and so on. The word literature is highly influenced by the content and the style of Panchatantra. So Panchatantra in Arabic, here are some facsimiles on your screen. You may have these 2 are from the Kalila Vadimna, or the Arabic translation of Panchatantra, that was done in the 14th century. And this one again from the Kalila Vadimna. And the important characteristic of, or the uniqueness of this Mughal translation is that this is the pictorial translation, along with the description, along with the translation of the stories into Arabic, the pictures are also there. So that is the uniqueness of Panchatantra in Arabic. And then this is the instance from example illustration from the Persian translation, that is known as Anwar-e-Suheli. So come to the 5 sections of Panchatantra. One is each of the 5 books of Panchatantra is a frame story with the embedded fables and verses that focus on different aspects of politics and human behavior. That's why it is called the Panchatantra, divided into the 5 sections or 5 ways. One is the Mitra Bhed. One section is Mitra Bhed, the separation of friends. This is the longest book, focusing on how a friendship or alliance can be broken by the actions of a wicked person. Another is Mitra Labh, the winning of the friends. This section, in contrast to the first, illustrates the power and advantage of making and maintaining good friendship. And so on, you see Kakolokium of crows and owls, and then the another sections, loss of gains, and the 5th section you see considered action. So all is on your screen, you may pause it and you may go through it. Then major moral teachings of Panchatantra would include wisdom and foresight are essential for leadership. Friendship should be built carefully and preserved honestly. Greed, pride and haste lead to destruction. Cleverness can overcome brute strength. Then actions must be taken only after careful thinking. Another book is Hitopdesha, a Sanskrit compendium of moral stories similar in form to the Panchatantra. Hitopdesha means beneficial instructions. Hit means welfare, Upadesh means counsel. It is concise, systematic and intended primarily for ethical training and moral education of young learners. It is associated with Narayana Pandit. He is believed to have worked in the court of King Dhaval Chandra of Bengal. Around 12th century he composed it, and again it is further divided into the 4 sections, Mitralabh and Surit Bhed and the Vigraha and Sandhi. Teachings of Hitopdesha would include purpose of composition was the text was composed with the specific goal of teaching good conduct and social ethics, shaping character in young learners, encouraging thoughtful decision making, promoting virtues such as loyalty, honesty and harmony in social relationship. Major teachings: friendship, trust and cooperation are necessary for a peaceful life. Broken trust leads to conflict and suffering. So almost the teachings are similar or same. Contextual teachings are their ethical behaviors, ensures long-term well-being and so on. So almost on the same pattern of Panchatantra. Jataka Kathaएं, the tales of Buddhas, they are a little different from the content and the basic idea of Panchatantra Updesh. Jataka Kathaएं has a different idea because they contain the stories of the Purva Janma and the previous birth of Lord Buddha. So Jataka Kathaएं, commonly known as are a large collection of stories about the previous births, incarnations of Gautam Buddha. In Pali language means a story of birth. In Buddhist tradition, it is believed that before attaining enlightenment as Buddha, he was born many times as humans, animals, birds, kings, sages and common people. So in that way, in Buddhism, there is a concept of Punarjanm too. In each life, he cultivated virtues such as compassion, generosity, honesty, patience, wisdom, and sacrifice. And these stories occupy an important place in Theravada Buddhist literature and are used as moral and ethical lessons across Asia. Characteristics of Jataka tales would include that simple language and narrative style is there, animal characters used to symbolize human qualities, everyday situation is described here, and it reflects the Buddhist worldview, truth, compassion, non-violence and the law of karma. And content and structure of Jatakas, themes covered in approximate 547 Jataka stories: truthfulness, charity, forgiveness, humility, kindness, courage, all the moral teachings of Indian oral traditions, they form the content, or basically you can say that Indian values come from these texts, and Indian values, for Indian values, these texts are the primary sources. And then typical structure at present life situation, where Buddha addresses an issue, Buddha narrates a past life story to illustrate the moral point. The story ends with a moral and practical teaching. This was the styles. So characters are there, basically bodhisattvas. Bodhisattva is a term which is used for Buddha in earlier birth as wise elephant, sometimes compassionate king, a helping monkey, a truthful merchant, a humble ascetic. These are all the incarnations of Lord Buddha in the previous birth, and in by way of a story they are also helping, even if they are in a different character. Teaching and purpose of Jatakas: basically compassion, karuna, non-violence, ahimsa, selfless service and generosity, patience and tolerance, and wisdom and right understanding. Every action has consequences, that is karma, so one must act righteously. True progress is moral and spiritual, not material. And the purpose is given on your screen, why it was composed, and teachings are also there. Then to conclude, values illustrated in Panchatantra and other storytelling traditions cultivate ethical understanding through simple yet profound narratives. They help learners internalize wisdom, empathy, cooperation, and responsible decision making in a natural and engaging way. Such a storytelling reflects the Indian ethos of learning through experience, dialogue, and reflections rather than mere instructions. And one very important aspect is that storytelling and dialogism is associated with Indian knowledge traditions. The whole world now utilizes it in educational arena, in various diplomatic states. Also, we take the dialogism and storytelling in different arenas for upgrading or grooming the personalities, traits, and so on. So, with these words of Martin Luther King Jr., I am winding up this lecture. The time is always right to do what is right. So, thank you very much for listening patiently. See you in the next lecture. Take care. God bless.